Nerdstalgia, Colorado Springs' hidden gem in the Citadel Mall. We carry whatever you're nerdy about, whether you're a music nerd, comic nerd, movie, or video games, and with the largest selection of pro wrestling merchandise in Colorado, we have the physical media, toys, and collectibles that will take you back to your past. We are open 6 days a week, closed on Wednesdays. We love seeing what you're looking to get rid of and offer cash or store credit. Stop by to let us know, what are you nerdy about? Hey, welcome back, nerds. It's another Nerdstalgia. What are you nerdy about? I got my partner here for tonight, but we are hanging out at Nerdstalgia. We shoot these on Friday nights, and if you've ever wanted to be on an episode of What Are You Nerdy About, we can have you on. You can send us an email, nerdstalgiastore@gmail.com. You can send us a message at the bottom of nerdstalgia.shop, or any of our socials at Nerdstalgia Shop is where you can find us on those. Just don't hit us up on Twitter. Twitter's a cesspool. Stay off of there. But we're in Colorado Springs at the Citadel Mall. We're in the downstairs level, and we have whatever you're nerdy about. So if you're into physical media and toys, so physical media when it comes to comics, music, movies, video games, but toys as well, big thing that we do. And we're very nerdy about wrestling around here, which we're going to talk about. I got my Luchador Rudo shirt on because I'm a heel. Anybody that's met me, I'm a heel. So, but yeah, tonight we're gonna talk a little nerd with Mike. Mike, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. You come in the shop. You come in probably like every week for the last few weeks or whatever for a couple of months. Yeah. So.
And so will everybody else.
Yeah, he's been bringing me some banger action figures, especially if you're into Lucy's. If you like the loose WWE, WCW, if you really like toys when it comes to wrestling and want like some stuff maybe imported from south of the border, we got some Mexican toys that he has access to that he brings me. So yeah, he boxed stuff. He brought some stuff today, and I'm gonna just show some of this stuff later. But we're here to shoot the episode and talk. We talk enough in store, but I thought, man, why don't we lay down the podcast and really get a conversation? I don't even know how long this one's going to go. It could go for a minute, because when you said the topic you wanted to talk about, I said, oh, shit. We could talk about that for a little while, because, man, you're hitting right in my nerdiest of nerdy spots. So, Mike, what are you nerdy about?
I'm nerdy about WCW, World Championship Wrestling.
Oh, man.
I miss it. It's not dead because I have the memories, and we have the footage, we have the history, we have the items.
Yeah.
WCW should never die.
It shouldn't have, man. There was some poor mismanagement that happened, and it's not the people who normally blame. So I'll go real deep and nerdy into this topic, because I know way too much about it. But I mean, I'm a guy who listens to Bischoff's podcast every week. I've read all the books. I've listened to so many interviews, read so many books, magazine articles, newsletter articles. I mean, I talk to Wade Keller on a somewhat regular basis, about wrestling, and listened to him about wrestling for years and years. And man, he lived through all the WCW stuff, and he's like 10 years older than I am. Yeah. So when I was watching WCW at like 12 years old, he was 22, 23. So he was like a young adult watching it with a little bit more critical of an eye than I was as a kid. So I've always enjoyed his perspective, being a little bit older than me. Yeah. For his childhood, it was AWA, which is a whole nother topic. But yeah, WCW. So, what is some of your early WCW memories? What do you remember getting into it?
Well, it first started one night when I was, I'd say probably 1995. I was 10.
Okay.
My uncle loved wrestling, and he said, "Come in here and watch this. The Hulkster's going to be on." And personally, I thought, I seen a little bit of footage, and I hadn't seen Hogan yet, but I seen the wrestlers, and I said, who wants to watch that? They're in their underwear, this, that. I wasn't into it. And then he said, just give it a chance. And as soon as Hogan's music hit, boom, I was, hooked.
Yeah.
As soon as I seen Sting, I was hooked.
Oh, yeah.
But that was when it began, Nitro.
Yeah.
And right after that, here comes Scott Hall out of the audience, you know.
Oh, man.
And that just got me. And Sting fighting him off, and that's what connected me to it. And I started trying to watch Saturday Night Wrestling, and my grandma took me to wrestling. I've been to.
Where'd you live at the time?
At the time, I lived here.
Okay. So you got to see enough live wrestling in a city like this.
I probably saw 20 Nitros. Went to some Thunders. I even went to Spring Stampede '98 in Denver at the Denver Coliseum. That was awesome. It was where Macho Man came in to face Sting in the main event. Sting was the champ at the time. Macho Man beat him for the title, which I don't mind because Macho Man's one of my favorite as well.
Yeah.
If Sting has to lose, then who better than Macho Man?
Yeah.
But I give it to my uncle for getting me into it, because if it wasn't for him, I would have never watched wrestling.
Yeah.
And my grandma taking me to all of them.
Wrestling is a generational thing.
Yep.
Like, you rarely, like, if it's the hot topic, you might have a friend at school that's into wrestling, and that's what gets you into wrestling. But I think most of the people who, like, really get into it, well, I don't know, not for me, because it wasn't generational for me at all. My dad made fun of me for watching it.
How'd you get into it?
So, I was kind of fascinated with the idea of it. And probably a little bit of it because my dad didn't like it.
Yeah.
And I liked one-on-one sports. And really, if I trace it all the way back, it's probably Rocky. The Rocky movie is the most pro wrestling movie you'll ever see that's not about wrestling. True. Except for Rocky 3. Rocky 3 is where Hogan was introduced to the world. So, Rocky was an underdog, babyface fighter. You know, he's the good guy. He always tapped in the pet shop. He always said hi to the puppies. And he always, you know, appreciated the people who were singing on the street corners, knew everybody's name, greeted everybody. Good guy. You wanted to see Rocky win. And as you got his opportunity, you so wanted this guy to win, and he lost. He lost the big fight.
Kind of like Sting.
But in losing, you loved him. He got over with the audience in losing, because he went all the way with the champion, and he was like this undercard guy who should have never even had the shot. That's pro wrestling. That is the story of pro wrestling. There's a good guy, there's a bad guy, and there's a reason you want to see him win, and sometimes he does and sometimes he doesn't, but you can still root for him as your favorite even in loss.
True.
So I loved that, and then seeing pro wrestling for the first time, and so
What's
I
the
just
first
so
company you watched?
it was WCW.
Oh.
Yeah,
like
absolutely
me.
was WCW. So I grew up at the time I was in Southern Missouri, no cable. So I couldn't turn USA Network on Saturday mornings and watch Hulk Hogan. But I found out that after the news was over on Saturday nights, and those are the nights that I could stay up late, at 10:35, WCW Worldwide came on.
Oh yeah, Worldwide.
Yeah.
I love Worldwide.
And I would watch, and I was just fascinated. And then I found out there was a show on TBS, so I'd always want to go to Grandma's on Saturday.
Saturday Night Wrestling.
6:05. Yeah,
Eastern?
5:05 Eastern or Central was where I was living. But yeah, so I just fascinated. Like, Sting was all in the bright neon colors at the time. Stunning Steve Austin, Dustin Rhodes, Johnny D. Bad. But I love the bad guys. So Stunning Steve Austin, he was in a group called the Dangerous Alliance. And the guy everybody knows is Paul Heyman now was Paulie Dangerously, because there was a movie out with Michael Keaton called Johnny Dangerously. And he stole the sharky lawyery
I didn't know that.
thing. Oh man, go watch Johnny Dangerously. You'll totally see it. At the time, he looked a lot like Michael Keaton.
Wow.
Before he lost all of his hair and gained all of his weight,
That's cool.
he looked a lot like Michael Keaton. So he was Paulie Dangerously, and was like the shystery guy. Always had the cell phone when nobody had cell phones at the time.
The big block cell phone.
Yeah. So the Dangerous Alliance was him, Stunning Steve Austin, because Ric Flair had left, so Arn Anderson was left without a group. So you had Arn Anderson in there, Bobby Eaton was in there, and Medusa, a girl wrestler, and then Stunning Steve, Larry Zbyszko.
Yep.
And then who was my favorite, because I love the bad guys, my favorite wrestler then and always was, until Sting kind of just took him over due to longevity and stuff, but Ravishing Rick Rude.
Yep.
Dude, I loved Rick Rude so much. So, like I said, I can be a kind of a heel, you know?
That's cool.
He knew his worth. He came out, he's like, man, I'm the best. Look at this body. I worked hard for it. Y'all are going to appreciate it.
Yep.
Took what he wanted, whooped everyone's ass. Man, he was awesome. And just such a sense of humor about it. But then, as he went off to feud with Ricky Steamboat at the time, Sting got into a feud with, Lex Luger and won the world title, but then with Vader.
Yep.
And that's when I was like, I didn't like Vader. That was too heel. Okay. I was too real. Like, he wasn't a funny, cocky. He's a big bully, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved watching Sting versus Vader, Sting versus Cactus Jack. Man, I love that era of WCW. Yeah. So does Cody Rhodes. I was listening to a Cody Rhodes interview today. Like and, he was a little kid, and Dusty was booking half the stuff. And, he's like, man, if you want to talk to me about wrestling, we'll talk. That. Yeah. He's like, we'll talk more early 90s WCW than you ever want to know about. Cody's doing great. He
followed the dream.
So happy to see Cody.
Very proud of him.
Absolutely.
And even, big brother Dustin Rhodes.
Oh, yeah.
What a life to go from WCW to WWF, and he makes it work no matter what. No matter what Vince said, hey, you're going to do this, you're going to be gold. He made that work.
He made Goldust work.
I believe that music and entrances also make wrestlers.
There are gimmicks. So this is what I never liked about WWF, because I cut my teeth on WCW.
Yep.
And yeah, there were gimmicks in WCW, and even Sting technically was a gimmick.
Yep.
But there were very few gimmick wrestlers in WCW in comparison to WWF, where Diesel was a truck driver, and Repo Man got cars back, and they had trash men and plumbers and hockey players and baseball players. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. And it worked.
Then there were guys who transcended their gimmick.
Yep.
And their Dustin Rhodes did that with Goldust.
Yeah, I couldn't have pulled off no Goldust.
Undertaker.
Yep.
Not anybody could have played a zombie dead man.
Nope. Mark Calloway could.
He was
WCW,
incredible.
It was a whole different thing.
Yeah, Mark Callis.
It's funny how one company can't do something with somebody and another can. But one could go from WWF to WCW and it would help them.
Yep.
It's just amazing how things would work.
It's all about who fits in what group and who has the right idea.
You got that right.
If you look now, and the closest thing we have to WCW today is AEW.
Yep.
I mean, AEW, Collision, it looks like Nitro.
Thank God for Tony Khan.
Yeah.
Loving because he was a WCW
He's
guy.
WCW and ECW.
Yep.
And AEW is a great
Yep.
mashup of the two.
Yep.
But you look at Tony Storm. I think Tony Storm is the greatest thing in pro wrestling.
Yep.
And WWE, they never just went to the top with her.
No.
And she would have gotten her time.
Yep.
But she wouldn't have gotten the timeless Tony Storm gimmick that she has now.
True.
And that just comes from different collaborators, and different ideas. And that's why wrestling is always the most stale when there's only one company.
True.
Because there's not somebody else to make.
Monopolized everything.
Yeah. TNA was not strong enough.
They tried.
Yeah, and then
2010.
Dixie Carter brought John Gaburek in and ruined it all.
Ruined it.
Yep. But yeah, so WCW, so you broke into that mid-90s, so when Nitro was kicking off.
Yep. And that's just, it would have grabbed anybody. So for
context there, There was wrestling was mostly weekend syndicated shows.
Yep.
USA would have a show on Saturdays, and TBS would have a lot of WCW shows. Reason for that, which I'll back up on. But Nitro was going to be on TNT, which was like their flagship network at Turner, and it was going to be at the same time that USA had Raw.
Yep.
And Raw was the one that was live right after the pay-per-view, but then to be taped for 3 weeks because it was only an hour long. So they have a 4-hour show, and the first hour would be live, and then they record 3 hours for the next 3 weeks. And then WCW was live every week.
Yep.
And man, that competition just, it took the business in places they'd never been.
Thank God for Ted Turner.
Yeah.
Wanting to compete.
Yeah.
Wanting to actually show there's something out here we can do.
So WCW, and the reason it was on the Turner networks is because of Ted Turner. So there was NWA, National Wrestling Alliance, and they were really the figurehead over professional wrestling.
Yep.
But then they got so big, Vince McMahon Sr. said, I have a big enough territory, I'm going to name my own world champion. Vern Gagne, same thing with the AWA. So there ended up being 3 different world championships. And when the WWF went national, NWA was really hurt by that. Jim Crockett Promotions was the big one that took over most of them. There was Georgia Championship Wrestling. Mid-South was associated with them sometimes. AWA sometimes. You had Mid-South in Texas. You had all these different territories. But they all kind of started dying off. Jim Crockett Promotions was going all in. And they just couldn't pay the bills anymore, the Crockett's as a company. So you needed a bigger pocketbook, and that bigger pocketbook was Ted Turner. And Ted Turner bought all the footage from all these territories associated with the NWA and called it World Championship Wrestling, which was the name of the Georgia Championship Wrestling show that came on at 6:05, and just called it WCW, which is a great moniker
I
for...
love that, just the initials.
Great moniker for wrestling. Yeah,
you just
kind
of
like
that
all
again.
elite wrestling.
Yep.
I love that. Like, this is the top. We're the best wrestler. They're the elite. They're the greatest of wrestlers. They don't always have the greatest stories and characters, although their storytelling is getting much better, and their character building. If you're not watching Swerve, Hangman, and Brody grow before your eyes, man, you're missing something.
You need to.
Yeah. So there's, I love WCW, World Championship Wrestling, and it became another league. Now it floundered, it lost money, and the Turner Network people, not Ted Turner, they wanted it gone. Then they hired this young guy named Eric Bischoff who had some ideas, and man, did he take it places. And then, as soon as business started taking the slightest bit of downturn, they started blaming everything on WCW as an organization, and that's a whole other thing. But so you mentioned Sting and Hogan. So talk to me about Hogan a little bit. So you started watching Hogan post WWF. You didn't have any of that.
No knowledge.
AWA, WWF, and then you see him in WCW. So what was it about him?
Man, as soon as I heard his music hit and him come out, just grabbed me. I can't explain why. Maybe because I was a big Jean-Claude Van Damme guy.
Okay.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger and Stallone and
he was the archetype of the 80s. That's why he was so big in the 80s,
yes.
Hogan was.
And I loved just, I wanted to be big. I wanted to be like that. And I didn't end up being that way, but, I loved it. And as soon as I saw Sting, he's the only one who could compare to Hogan.
Yeah.
And Sting actually took Hogan over for me.
Yeah.
I'm a Sting guy, then Hogan, then Macho Man.
Yeah.
Flair I hated. I really
grew
did.
To appreciate him.
Yeah,
though?
I grew
Absolutely.
to appreciate him 100%. It took time.
Yeah.
But once you get knowledge, you realize what people are.
To really understand the greatness of Flair, it was the pre-WCW stuff, the Jim Crockett. So at a time when the NWA champion, so you'd go to Jim Crockett Promotions, and they'd have their champion, U.S. champion, the national champion at Georgia Championship Wrestling, or the Heritage State Championship, or, you know, different places had their different titles. And then the world champion you only saw when he traveled to your territory. Yeah. So you didn't see the world champion very often. And kind of like when you watch WWE today, like when Roman Reigns was champion, you didn't see him very often.
Yeah.
He was more of an attraction than the every weekend, week out star.
True.
So that's the way Flair was. And that means Flair's coming to a different territory, wrestling a different person.
Yeah.
And he's got to have a great match, and often went 30, 60 minutes with his opponent.
Yeah. That's
making their champion look like he could have beat Flair, the heel, but Flair cheated at the end, or got lucky at the end, or it went to a draw, and their champion, even though their guy's not going to have the championship, they know their guy's as good as the champion.
Yep.
And it's an art form of leaving them behind, saying your guy is great.
Yep.
And it, by kind of the Rocky story, by losing, you've made their guy bigger, their territorial champion bigger. And it wasn't like in WWE where you get to work your matches out. It's not like the WWE system before that where you had house shows and you worked them, you know, you'd work them for a couple of weeks before you saw it on TV, working out their timing and rhythm. Flair had to go have a different match with a different opponent 7 nights a week.
Flair's probably the hardest working wrestler of all time.
Him and Cena for sure.
Yeah, you know.
Cena
He
differently.
did put in work.
Cena differently because of all of the media, overseas travel. The man learned Mandarin to help expand WWE into China.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I was never a Cena guy.
Me neither.
But I respect the hell out of it.
Me too.
So, but yeah, Flair, different era. So sometimes, it is hard to see like what was so great about him. But God, he was the best.
He was.
Yeah.
I got lucky and got to see him wrestle live many times.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy about that.
Yeah.
You know, if you start on WCW, you're always WCW. But I did move to WWF just to learn and see. And
well, the Attitude Era at the time, what WCW pushed WWF into doing was very good.
Yep.
I mean, Foley, who came from WCW, Stone Cold, who came from WCW, Undertaker, who came from WCW.
Created all that.
Yeah, and then you had The Rock, you know, moving into all of that. And Michaels and Triple H at their young.
I had to watch Nitro, tape WWF, watch WWF right after. I mean, I watched every
This is the era where I learned how to get 2 different VCRs, 2 different cable lines, record both shows, so I could rewatch them during the week,
yes,
man.
Sir.
Yeah, and then just tape over it the next week. And
I even have some still.
Yeah, I'd save some of my favorite matches. I'd run one VCR to the other and make my own little mixtapes like we did with cassette tapes back in the day, too.
Yes, sir.
Y'all know cassette tapes. We're Nerdstalgic around here. So, Hogan, you mentioned Macho Man. What did you like about Macho Man?
Man, his look.
Yeah.
His rareness. Like, you just won't find a guy that puts that much effort into his character. His character
always living a gimmick.
Yeah, it became him.
No one heard him outside the voice.
Yeah. You know?
Very rarely did anybody talk about hearing him not use the voice.
Nope, he used that voice 24/7. He learned, I gotta be that. But that's what I loved, and his look and his moves.
Yeah.
I mean, he just was great.
Yeah. He was, you know, especially in WWF.
Yeah.
He was undersized compared to you know, those. He's only like what, 6'2", 6'3", or you know, he's only 245 pounds.
Smaller,
you know,
Hogan
but he wasn't 6'7" or 6'8" like a lot of the guys were. But he was smaller, so being smaller, he overcompensated with some of the flashier stuff. He was a star, man. I watched a match with him versus Jerry Lawler in Memphis not too long ago. That, man, Macho was just a star. He'd come out to, you know, the Fame theme at the time before he came out.
That's
to
cool. I have to check that out.
Yeah.
Where was that?
It was on a podcast it was one of Jeff Jarrett's podcasts.
And he was facing Jerry Lawler?
It was Jerry Lawler and Macho Man. It was
I'll
their
have to
first
check that
match
out.
with each other, and it was the first time they'd shown the footage from the match. It had come unearthed, and it was to promote a classic wrestling streaming channel. But yeah, you can just see he was a star, flashy. He'd do a little bit like jump over the top rope and off the top rope at a time that didn't happen, especially in the WWF.
What do you call it? Like a loose cannon kind of.
Yeah.
He was like a lit fuse.
Yeah.
You didn't know what he's gonna do.
Yes.
He was wild.
So before we get to Sting, a couple other wrestlers or acts that you liked in WCW.
Man, so many. Harlem Heat.
Yeah.
Nasty Boys, Faces of Fear,
I was
Dungeon of Doom.
Big fan of Harlem Heat, man.
Yeah.
That was one of my top
The
5
Harlem
favorite
Hangover, what a finishing move.
Yeah.
I mean, Booker T is an athlete.
Yeah, and
And
Stevie
his
Ray, his
brother is
brother
really
was the
Stevie
big guy.
Ray. They are brothers.
Yeah.
And just everything about it.
You know, Stevie, the
I liked
guy.
when Kevin Sullivan wrote it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when him and really Benoit stole Kevin Sullivan's wife. So, you know, they got him out of there, but
that's
I
a
love Sullivan.
fun story.
Yeah.
Where Kevin Sullivan was the booker. The booker is the main writer of a TV show.
Yep.
So he plans out the matches, the angles. He doesn't plan out the matches. That's for the agents or producers to plan out the matches or the wrestlers themselves at this time.
He was the
for
booker.
the most part.
He just said
they
who's
did have
gonna
agents.
wrestle.
Yep, but he booked who wrestled, why they wrestled, who's cutting the promo, when they're cutting the promo, who's getting the push, etc. He did a whole angle where he wanted the boys to think Chris Benoit and his wife Nancy Sullivan were together.
Yep.
They wanted, he said,
it backfired.
travel together, stay in the same hotel rooms, eat together, and then they ended up leaving Kevin for Chris.
Yep. People have to check out the pay-per-view 96. It's in 96. I think it's Bash at the Beach, or it might be. It's somewhere near there.
Great American Bash. You're talking about the one where they go into like upstairs, the bathrooms.
Oh yeah.
They did it to get into
that
Clash
thing
of Champions
was real.
too.
You're like they went down.
Yeah, they threw on some live rounds.
If people don't know WCW, go check it out because 96 and up, you're gonna see some fun stuff.
Yeah.
But Dungeon of Doom, man, Kamala in there.
Yeah.
They could just throw anybody in there and it'd be cool. And they were a bad guy group.
Yeah.
So of course the good guys had people to wrestle right there.
Yep.
But
and that was the Hogan factory. So Hogan was comfortable having. So in WWF, Hogan always had a big monster. You know, whether it was Zeus or Earthquake or Hercules. It was always some big, unbeatable bad guy. Andre the Giant turned heel, had the whole feud. Big, you know, always.
Yep.
And
I love seeing Hogan and Sting and Macho Man team up and be friends, you know?
Yeah.
Like, help each other. I mean, there's nothing like that. Those are legends, and there's never going to be WCW again. There'll never be nothing like it again.
Yeah.
But we'll never forget it.
Yeah.
And we'll always have the footage.
So
I go watch it all the time.
So the two things that, and we're going to talk about Sting last because I want to hear about your love of Sting because I'm right there with you.
Yep.
But two things WCW's definitely known for: the cruiserweight division.
Oh yeah.
So one of my favorite things about WCW, when you watch WWF, especially in that era, they're better now than they used to be.
Yeah.
But
they couldn't do it.
In that era, WWF. There was no wrestling except for the WWF. They did not mention it. They changed your name. When Kerry Von Erich came in, they didn't talk about him being, you know, the guy who got the Freebirds. He was the Texas Tornado.
Yep.
You know, Macho Man, he wasn't the outlaw wrestler from ICW. He's just this flashy heel.
Yep.
They always had to recreate them for their audience because, and there is some truth to it. There is a WWF audience and there is a pro wrestling audience.
Yep.
And many pro wrestling fans will watch WWF, WWE, but today, just as much as ever, look, I would much rather watch a AEW pay-per-view
Yep.
than a WWE one.
Me too.
I'm a wrestling fan.
Yep.
I like
Me
the
too.
matches. I
I
like
like
a
it
little
all.
grittier. I like a little more adult. But I also understand the sanitized kid version.
Yep.
You gotta have the superhero movies that break kids into comic books so they grow to be a fan of the more adult stuff.
True.
Same with wrestling. So there's always going to be a WWE audience and a pro wrestling audience. But, and I don't even remember what we were talking
Touching
about.
back on them cruiserweights.
Cruiserweights, yes.
WWF didn't know how to create them.
WWF.
Or what to do with it.
So-
or to make it a vision.
What
WCW did that.
What WCW did was let you know there was outside wrestling. They had a crossover event called Worlds Collide with AAA.
Yep.
You got to see Mexican wrestling before you knew what Mexican
I
wrestling
thank
was.
Bischoff for bringing all them in. Rey Mysterio, La Parka, Psychosis,
Yep.
everybody, Ultimo Dragon. I mean, there
And
was
ECW,
nothing like it.
ECW to a certain degree too, brought a lot of them in.
Yeah, they came from there.
But
they were there first and then got bought over to WCW.
WCW also brought in a bunch of people from Japan. They had a working agreement with New Japan Pro Wrestling
Great
over
Muta.
there. And you had Muta come in, and man, I can't even remember names right now.
He's on
but
the
yeah.
tip of my tongue too. I know who
Masahiro
you're thinking.
Chono.
Yep.
Masahiro
Exactly.
Chono, Muta, like so many great.
Yep. Even the girl ones. You know, I can't remember off the top of my head here, but
you know, you learned there was Japanese wrestling, and Finley and William Regal were brought in, Lord Steven Regal, but they talked about them being
Gotta
great
love
European
the blue bloods,
wrestlers.
you know?
Conan came in as the Mexican champion. Then he brought in all the cruiserweights. And you got Rey Mysterio, who revolutionized wrestling. It's never been the same since somebody saw him do a springboard hurricanrana. My God, that guy. That didn't happen. Like, you had Scott Steiner do the Frankensteiner, which was amazing.
Big guy doing
big
it.
dude.
Yeah.
You know? But he would do it when they were running and just do a flip where he'd clip their round with his ankles, or he'd do it off the top rope. While impressive, but a guy to springboard, land, and then flip and pull. Oh my God, he was incredible. And the things that he was doing, nobody'd ever seen before. Jushin Liger, that was another one.
Thunder Liger.
So when I first started watching WCW, they had a light heavyweight championship. They were trying this cruiserweight thing, and that's why actually Bischoff called it cruiserweight, because he said light heavyweight sounds like a lesser heavyweight. He goes, change the term.
Take that word light out of there.
Smart. Cruiserweight, same thing. And it's kind of like having a, Diet Pepsi, or it's like, what are you leaving out of it when you're stipulating something else to it? Cruiserweight. Now that's something completely different. And man, they revolutionized Psychosis and
Nitro
Juventud
was
Guerrera.
a 3-hour packed show.
Yeah.
It'd start with Rey Mysterio versus Ultimo Dragon. Then it'd move into Harlem Heat versus Nasty Boys. Then it'd turn into, everything you want.
Yeah.
And nothing will match it ever again.
Yeah, TNA did that really well, especially because, between Dusty Rhodes,
Rob Van Dam,
Dusty
AJ Styles.
So Dusty Rhodes and Jeff Jarrett both had the philosophy that wrestling should be a buffet.
Yeah.
This part of the buffet's got Mexican food. This part's got your fried food. You got catfish over here. You got your pasta. You got your desserts. You got everything, right? So like watching a good TNA pay-per-view back in the day, you got the hardcore match. You got a great tag team match. You had a women's match. You had the title match. You had you got all these different things. Big car crash, multi-man match with the ladder thrown in there. But yeah, so cruiserweight, all of that stems from, all that crazy wrestling starts from the cruiserweight division of WCW. The other thing they're known for, tell me how you felt about this, since you loved Hogan. The biggest heel turn in the history of wrestling and the NWO.
Yeah, it broke my heart. As a matter of fact, get this, my first pay-per-view I ever ordered was WCW Bash at the Beach 96.
Oh,
somehow.
man.
That's my first pay-per-view. And this is why I'm such a wrestling guy and WCW guy, but when he turned,
On Macho Man and Sting.
Yeah, when I went to the grocery store after that pay-per-view with my grandma, I was crying from the time we left to the time I came. I literally cried. But, you know, I grew to hate Hogan. I hated the NWO. I'm not like you. I wasn't a guy who liked bad guys at all. I loved the good guys. I loved Macho Man in WCW, Sting, the good guys, Luger. But he broke my heart. But, you know, later when he turned good again, I was excited as ever again.
Sure.
But, yeah, he was able to make you love him, and he was able to make you hate him.
Yeah.
And that means you're great.
Dusty Rhodes said the line once, no one has ever captured the imagination of the wrestling audience like Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
And, man, that's true.
And I truly enjoyed
it. And as a baby face and as a heel. Because the thing you don't understand as a kid, and I kind of did get it at an earlier age because I liked the bad guys. The heel is so important for you to love the baby face. Because without the heel, what's the baby face matter? And I tell you, the one that benefited the most out of the NWO was the one guy who never joined him, with the exception of a Wolfpack turn. But that was a babyface group.
Sting.
And that's the man they call Sting.
It is.
So, Sting, man, that's my guy. But the feud that I point to that got me into pro wrestling, Lex Luger and Sting were feuding at the time. Luger was the world champ. Sting was the U.S. champ. Basically, they needed to get the belt off of Sting to have the feud so Sting could beat Luger for the world championship. And he brings in this box of how he's going to take care of Sting. And maybe it was Luger that came out of this box, and he tore Sting's knee up, and he's supposed to wrestle Ravishing Rick Rude for the U.S. title later that night. Had to go to the hospital, and he comes in hobbling on one knee, and you know, so it was a tainted victory, but Rude won it. And because I liked Rude, I'm like, well, he won. He won. It doesn't matter how he won. He won. So you get that, but that Rick Rude versus Sting, Luger's involvement, Paulie Dangerous's involvement, Harley Race's was involved because he was Luger's manager at the time. Man, all of those Hall of Fame names, and that's the feud that I point to. So Rick, and I love the bad guys, but I tell you what, by the time the NWO, because I wasn't a Hogan guy growing up, because he was an outsider who came in from the WWF, and I liked the bad guys, I didn't like Hogan. Hogan turning heel, kind of liked it, but still, like, I thought Hall and Nash were cool.
Oh, yeah.
But
now I do.
But Hogan, I saw Hogan as riding their cool coattails. I didn't see him as the ringleader. Now I do see Hogan was just as friggin' genius as the rest of them. And I respect everything Hogan did.
I'm sure you know it, but Sting was supposed to be the third guy.
He was the backup. He was the backup if Hogan said.
God that didn't happen.
Because they didn't know if Hogan would go through with it. So it was going to be Sting if Hogan said no.
And they were trying to get Shawn Michaels over there too to be the third guy, but it just didn't happen.
Contraire.
I don't think it would have worked
Bischoff
out.
would tell you no.
Oh,
Bischoff did not want.
He didn't try.
He didn't want HBK.
Oh.
HBK was a headache.
Yeah.
And he knew that.
Too much of a headache.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know.
But he never did chase HBK.
Another thing about WCW that just popped in my head is how they would have World War III, 3 rings, 60 men.
Yeah.
You know, War Games with 2 cages, 2 rings. They had awesome pay-per-view names. Halloween Havoc.
They had the best pay-per-view names.
The best.
Bash at the Beach,
Bash
Great American Bash, Spring Stampede, Uncensored. Yeah, they had some great pay-per-view names.
I miss it.
Starcade and Halloween Havoc were a couple big ones. So Super Brawl, that was another big one. So anyway, so the guy who really, like I said, Hogan wasn't my guy, so I kind of flipped when Sting went silent, he's up in the rafters, took like a year off of wrestling just for character development.
I couldn't believe that either.
Just for character development, put him up in the rafters for a year, and built all this anticipation for when he did wrestle Hogan. And the match finish was disappointing. It was a mess, but I became a Sting guy. Like, I liked Sting, but that's when I became a Sting guy.
You know, we got that in common right there because, you know, Sting is the man. But, you know...
And then I love that he stuck with wrestling and stuck with the underdog. He went to TNA.
He's loyal.
He went to TNA and worked there.
He did not want to be in WWE ever.
He did a stint in WWE, got put in their Hall of Fame, got in the video games, wrestled a couple matches, collapsed during a match. That was scary.
Yeah.
And
I thought he was going to die there.
And then he went to AEW, had a one last leg on the career, did everything in tag matches, was smart enough to do wrestling matches, knew he could take a break if he ever felt that way again. And he and Darby, man, I got to go see the man retire.
You're so lucky.
The final match in North Carolina, man. When that was happening, I'd been making pretty decent money, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this. And we unfortunately the money was starting to dry up about that time, and it may not have been the best financial decision that I made, but my God, one of the highlights of my life to go see Sting retire.
That's awesome.
And that whole show, man, that was the Ospreay like official debut. Like, he was a signed talent. Him and Takeshita was just incredible. Match after match, Joe, Swerve, Hangman, a three-way.
That's when I was into it big time. You know? Touching on Sting one more time though, is weird how my life would go sometimes. Like I told you, I liked martial art movies. I loved Brandon Lee. I loved Dolph Lundgren. I loved the movie Showdown in Little Tokyo. You know, my heart always seems to get broke. If I love something, it gets took. Like WCW or Brandon Lee. But when he was in The Crow, before Sting was ever looking like that, that's what made me just be like, wow, when Sting became The Crow, because I loved The Crow. And it worked out.
That was a shout out Scott Hall idea. Scott Hall said,
thank God
hey
for that.
man, you ever see this movie The Crow? I think if you changed your makeup,
it
might be
would
a
work.
good look.
And I don't know how it worked. I don't know how Scott Hall thought of that.
Scott Hall was a wrestling genius.
I love that guy, man. I miss him.
It's too bad that you know,
rest in peace.
Much of his, he is at peace now, because much of his life was not.
No.
Smart wrestling brain, but he dealt with a lot of demons. Poor guy.
Yeah, he did.
So, yeah, we talk about wrestling. We carry wrestling. It's what we do here at Nerdstalgia. So, this is the part where I talk a little bit about what you can find in Nerdstalgia. So, like I said, Mike's been bringing me stuff. So, a couple things now. Some of these are ones going home with me. I got the old school Hogan here from WCW and that NWO gear. Thought I'd change out my my Lawler. He's not WCW, but he almost was. He almost was when he left WWF there for a minute. But yeah, these are some of the WCW figures he brought me. They're a little undersized, but I dig them. He showed you the Hogan. There's the Macho Black and White, Sting, and Ric Flair. A couple of them you'll find in the bin over there. Can't keep them all. I already got a Scott Hall in a black and white and a black and red, so I'll leave that one here. Vader, man, I was a big fan. I know this was pre your time in WCW, but dude, Vader, I guess he was there for a little bit, probably. Yeah, because it was him. He got let go, and then they swapped his spot for Luger. He went to Vader went to WWF after getting let go, and Luger came over back to WCW. So one match we never got that I did kind of want to see based on my childhood was Lex Luger versus Vader, and they never crossed paths.
I bet he could have put him in the torture rack.
Yeah,
if he could put the Giant in the torture rack. You know.
So see when Luger left WCW, that's when they brought Vader in, and that's where Harley Race went as a manager. And so that's when, you know, because he was feuding with Sting.
What a character!
Yeah,
to have that mask, and you know,
yes,
it's time.
And then
it's time. It's Vader time.
One of my favorites of the WCW era. One of my absolute favorites. And when I started watching, so I watched. And then we moved to Oklahoma, and I couldn't pick up Worldwide. Still didn't have cable. Still couldn't watch it. So when we were at home, like at my grandma's place, and TBS was on and wrestling was on, I was kind of watching it and getting back into it. And then we ended up getting cable, and I could watch it again. At that point, man, I was loving the Master of the Bang!
Diamond Cutter.
Yeah.
Yep, he had a
DDP. God. So he was a heel at the time, and I liked the bad guys. And I loved the Diamond Cutter finisher. He was wrestling Mark Marrow, Johnny B. Bad. Yep. Great TV title feud, and starting to get himself over. And you want to talk about a hard worker in wrestling. He was like 35 when he had his first match.
You don't do that.
And he became a world champion, multi-time world champion.
Up there with the best of them.
Hall of Famer, absolutely deserves it. The guy who carried WCW. WCW really only made so many guys.
Yep.
A lot of them came in as stars from WWF. Yep. But Sting was a star because of WCW. Flair was a star before WCW, so I can't really count WCW making Flair. But Sting, Goldberg, DDP.
Yep.
And Booker T. Booker T to a certain degree too. Man, DDP was incredible. Worked his ass off to get there.
I liked his wife. That was my first crush.
Dude,
you know, I was like, oh my god.
His wife.
And then the Nitro Girls, you're like, yeah. And Stacy Keibler.
When it was the Nitro Girls, I liked. I think her name was Che. She had the short blonde hair. That's the one I liked.
Oh, okay.
The one the short blonde hair.
Her name was Spice.
Spice. Yeah.
I met them.
Yeah.
Me and my friend Steven go to Nitro up in Denver. I'm 15, 16 or whatever. After the show, we go down and pick the ropes up and carry them backstage and act like we're the workers. We get back there, and it's 5 of the Nitro girls standing there talking, and my friend, he's a loose cannon. He starts hitting on him, and what's up, sexy? And I'm like, man, you're gonna get us kicked out back there, man. And Nash walks up, and he was dating Chai at the time. The Chinese one. And he walks up, and he's way bigger than you even think.
Oh yeah.
And he says, "You guys ain't supposed to be back here." And that's all he says to us. And he walks over to this huge security guard about 50 feet away. He comes over, escorts us out.
Yeah.
But at least we got back there.
That's cool, man. That's cool.
It was cool.
Yeah. So at Nerdstalgia, you can find action figures. Man, we got video games. We got the N64 WCW game.
You're missing out.
Get
your butt down here.
Box figures, autographs, title belts, autographed title belts. So if you're not into wrestling, you haven't made it this deep into the podcast, but you know we got way more than wrestling
other stuff. Yep.
So
there's everything. He-Man, Turtles, whatever you want. Horror.
So, and one of the ways you can support us, maybe you're just checking us out online and you're nowhere near Colorado, you're not going to come to the shop. We do sell some stuff online, but maybe you just like the channel and want to support us. One of the best ways you can do that and get yourself some energy, Dubby. Dubby is our sponsor. They're an energy supplement that is it's extracted from a coffee plant, but not necessarily the beans. You don't have the taste of the coffee bean. You don't have the jitteriness from that much of a rush of caffeine. It's something that can work a little bit slower but give you energy all day. There's no big sugar crash because
is it a coffee kind of thing? It's a drink?
Yeah, so it tastes like this one's retro sherbet. You can get different flavors. You just mix it into water. Maybe you need something to mix it in. One of the reasons I love Dubby is the anime collaborations they do. This is a free Ren shaker, also Chainsaw Man, and some other anime properties they work with. You go to Dubby.gg. Anything you order, just use a code word Nerdstalgia, get a little extra off for yourself, support the channel, all capital letters. Nerdstalgia, it's just like the name of the channel. So, Mike, what is it about WCW that makes you so passionate about it and going back to that?
You know, it was something I could do anytime I wanted. Like, it was there for me to enjoy with my grandma. She loved it the same. My uncle. Just, it was always there for me until it wasn't, but
yeah.
You know, just the memories of it all, sitting down, getting dinner, watching Nitro.
Yeah.
You know, watching Thunder, seeing Thunder created.
Unfortunately, Thunder was probably the thing that killed WCW the fastest.
Yeah.
Oversaturated the market with too much. Yeah. That'd have been a weekly show,
you know,
with developmental shows with low expectations on the weekends.
Too busy and too much.
Yeah.
And then it got where they didn't put enough into what they should have.
Yep.
It watered it down.
It's amazing to see, like, WWE has 3 legit shows that get watched every week. But they did not have that type of talent roster, infrastructure, creative team, anything like that.
Over 300 wrestlers on the roster in WCW.
Yeah, but they didn't have, like, the team, like, the infrastructure to make... You need like 3 different writing teams for each show, so that everybody has their purpose, and so that people come back, because you got to make it episodic so people come back. And sometimes you're just writing to fill the show instead of writing to build to the next show and the next show and the next show. And that's what it takes to write episodic TV. But when there's no weeks off and you're doing essentially WCW is doing 104 episodes of the same TV show.
Yeah.
Where at least like WWE finally learned, these are the wrestlers on Raw. These are the wrestlers on SmackDown. This is the purpose of NXT. AEW still hasn't learned that with their Collision show. They either need to have lowered expectations for that or give it its own identity, which I think lowered expectations with one key show is the better way to go, as small as they are. So we talked about why you were so passionate about it. If somebody was going to start, somebody wants to get into WCW, what are some things you'd have them watch?
I would tell them to just start with, 1996 era. Start there, maybe in January, and then move your way up to when Scott Hall and the NWO start being created, and then work your way backwards. Watch 95, 94. But that's where I'd start with it. The same place I did, and it'll grab you.
The nice thing is now you can go on YouTube. You can go to WCW Vault, and they have a WCW Vault channel. It's just full of the old pay-per-views, Nitros, Thunders. They have live feeds of stuff that they've pre-programmed. A lot of the documentaries on different ones. There's a great Rise and Fall of WCW that was produced by WWE. So as a piece of history, I would not call that the most historically accurate in all places, but it's a really good overview of what WCW was, where it came from, key wrestlers from there. Eventually they folded. WWF took back over. They weren't producing the money that they once was at WCW, and they got rid of Bischoff too soon. Really, they'd burned Bischoff out, and Bischoff was ready to go.
Russo, when he came, it just was falling apart. I was actually at the Nitro in Denver.
Yeah, that was at Denver when the reset.
Yep, April 8th, and I seen all that. I was right at the guardrail at the entrance, right there, and I'm on TV if you watch that show. But it devastated me.
Yeah,
the way they started
took all the titles away from everybody.
They were messing the old guys up.
Yeah,
and they still had energy in them.
Not a massive fan of Russo, although I do dig what he's doing with JCW.
I liked what he did in WWF.
Yeah, but that was with Vince McMahon saying yes and no.
True.
That was just him kind of helping. Once he got total control, he was not a man to write a show on his own.
No.
And he has become pretty good for what he does and his style, and it works great for JCW. But so Juggalo Championship Wrestling on YouTube, Lunacy. Check that out.
I will.
So Yeah, I think there's lots of ways to check it out. I think the documentaries, there's lots of, I think, wrestling bios and some different wrestling channels on YouTube that'll kind of cover like who the top stars were. There's great documentaries on Sting, Hogan, that covers the WCW years.
I miss ECW too.
That's a whole other podcast, man.
Yeah, I got to a point where I ordered everything.
Yeah.
Every WCW pay-per-view, every weekend was a pay-per-view I'm ordering.
Yeah, dude, much like it is today,
back
man.
then they were only $20 a piece.
Yeah.
But that was still expensive back then.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, TNA and AEW have payper-views. GCW and MLW, if you follow all of them, they'll have shows, and WCC or WWE. Now they own AAA. There's New Japan shows. Man, there's so much wrestling.
So much.
It's a terrible problem to have.
You can't keep up with it, but
yeah, you can't keep up with it all. But it's kind of a great thing that you can always find, and so many places for it to work.
Yep.
And man, I love talking WCW and can do it again and again. But always love hearing different people's history and experience with it. And glad you guys joined us on this podcast. Come check out our store. We're closed on Wednesdays, but you can check us out 6 days a week. Check us out online, nerdstalgia.shop. You can check out where we're going to be when it comes to Comic-Cons and different shows and events. And check out Dubby. For Mike, this is Griffin, and thank you so much for joining us.